Përshëndetje and welcome to Inside Albania with me, Alice Taylor. Today I'm joined in the studio by two very special guests. First up, I have Murat Sahin. He is the head of UNICEF Albania, and we're going to be talking about child education, child rights, and the digital era and the impact it's having on Albanian children. And I'm also going to be joined in the studio by Eva Chota. She is an educator and an activist for a screen-free childhood, something I'm quite passionate about as well. Murat, welcome to Inside Albania. Happy New Year. Thank you for making the time to be with me today.
Thank you. Great to be with you, and it's great to see you in person. I've been following you over social media and everywhere. It's an honor to be with you today.
Thank you. And I love the hoodie as well. Let's get a look at this.
Thank you. It's UNICEF for every child.
Perfect. I love it. Very on brand for the interview as well. I want to know a bit about you as well. You've been in Albania for a couple of years. I think you were in Kosovo before. What's your experience in Albania been like since you got here? What were you expecting? What did you find?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Briefly, I come from Turkey and I've been 26 years with UNICEF. I started in Turkey for 2 years. From there, I moved to Tajikistan. I was there for 4 years. From Tajikistan, I went to North Korea. So 4 years I was in North Korea, Pyongyang, and this is all with UNICEF career. From there, I moved to headquarters, New York, for 7 years. And then another inning in North Korea for 2 years. Later, 3 years in Kosovo. After Kosovo in 2021, I went to Ukraine. I was the representative for UNICEF in Ukraine for 3 years. And after that, I came to Albania. So last 2 years, I've been in Albania. Over the 26 years, I've been to different parts of the world, but what is surprising and amazing of Albania is it's a welcoming country. And the speed of change in Albania is amazing. I mean, in 2 years' time, I've seen immense progress, whether it's political, whether it's the EU accession, or on the ground, on the lives of the children, there is huge progress.
Yes, I mean, I've been here for 8 years, and when I look back at, because when you're here day by day, you don't see it so much, but when I look back at photos I've taken over the years, I'm like, wow, it's like night and day. But I have a question. You said North Korea.
Yeah.
So 6 years in total in North Korea? 5 years?
4 years between 2005 to 2009 and 2016 to 2018, another 2 years. So it was like 6 years in total.
I have so many questions. Probably enough for another podcast there. But what was that like?
I think I make a bit of analogy of what I hear from elder generation from here, the discipline, the control structure and everything. But for UNICEF, we put the children at the start of everything we do. So wherever UNICEF works, it's for every child. So for every child education, for every child health. So it was a controlled environment. You need to have lots of negotiation. When you convince the government and the stakeholders, things move forward.
I can imagine as well, it wasn't the sort of place like in Albania, you can just go out for a dinner or go meet some friends for a drink, or you're probably not as free to just live your life.
Yeah, I mean, there are not many internationals living in the country, so it was a controlled environment, but you can have a life that is organized and disciplined.
Wow, that's fascinating. I don't think I've met anyone before who's lived in North Korea. You must be one of like a handful of people. I want to ask as well, when you came to Albania, what has surprised you the most about it? Maybe you had a preconception. For me, for example, I didn't know much when I came here. The biggest surprise for me was how friendly people were, like not over friendly, but like super friendly, the friendliest I've ever met.
It's similar to your observation. I think the biggest observation I have is when we lived in New York, you feel like you're part of the community. You don't feel like where you come from, you are part of the society there. And in Albania, and I and my wife have the same feeling. When you go out to any coffee shop, you sit, you talk, you connect, and you see people relax, you see people having, you feel being part of a community. And it's a beautiful thing. You don't feel like a foreigner.
Yes.
And I think that's the best asset of the society. It welcomes anyone, and everyone feels at home here.
I've always said you never feel alone in Albania.
Exactly.
If you want to be alone, you can be, but if you want to, you'll end up making friends and getting invited for coffee or hiking or something, you know, just...
Exactly. I mean, you will find, art, you will find music, you will find people to talk and share. So everyone welcomes you.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing about this country. Right, let's get down to business, to talk about children's rights and the lives of children in Albania. I want to ask the first question. Obviously, I've read some of the documents and the policy ideas and things that UNICEF have had and the initiatives that you've worked on. But if I was to ask you, what do you think is the most pressing and urgent matter related to the well-being of children in this country? If you could sort of wave a magic wand or something, what would it be? What would be the one thing you would do immediately?
I think putting children at the center of every decision, whether you are a parent, whether you are a mayor, whether you are a director, whether you are a politician, so you put the child at the center of every decision. Last year, we were working with the EU, sister UN agencies, with government partners, to come up with a common definition of human capital. Human capital is the health, well-being, education people accumulate throughout their life to fulfill their potential. What we see is an Albanian born today reaches only 63% of its potential. So this means we need to invest more on education, we need to invest more on health, we need to invest more on children. So what I would say is put children at the center of every decision you make. Every morning when you wake up, when you send your child to school, you see how you can be part of that education system.
And actually, I was going to ask you about this, the achieving 63% of their potential. The EU average is 70. I mean, that gap is not too big. I mean, but I find even 70 is a bit low.
Yeah.
I think 70% of your potential, I mean, that's really not. Why are Albanian children falling behind in terms of realising their potential? Is it because the education system has got a bit more work to do? Is it because of poverty? Is it because of lack of opportunity? Is it something wrong in society? What is causing this gap?
I think the speed of change in the world is immense. I mean, in the past, when the parents, they know more than their children. Now, the speed of change, the digitalization, the society, the connectivity. So it puts a pressure for children in Europe, in Albania, across the world. So what I would say is the parenting programs are very important. And right from, planning to have a child to early years of a child growth, or when you have an adolescent, to work with your adolescent child. So today's parents don't know more than their children in terms of the digitalization exposure they're having. So this is also a challenge that the European families face. When I see the Albania's accession to EU, the accelerated accession, it's super. Standard systems needs to be upgraded. But even in Europe, we have programs like European Child Guarantee and European Youth Guarantee, which shows there are challenges that European families are facing, and they're developing programs. The society is developing programs. The municipalities are implementing programs and putting resources to improve. The biggest thing is you acknowledge the problem, and then you work with the society, from parents, which are the first duty bearers on the protection and health of the child. Then it becomes the circle around the families, and then the circle around the city, and at the national level also. So I would say European Child Guarantee, European Youth Guarantee are programs that are implemented in Sweden, that are implemented in Italy, that are implemented in Germany, are applicable for that standard, but also here. And I have seen the government also taking steps towards adopting these, programs in improving the education, health, and well-being of children.
But it's what you said, everything's changing so quickly. Like, I remember, not when the internet was invented, but when it became available in school and when it started becoming something that people were using. And it happened sort of at the same time. It became something you could get in your home, and then it was in our school. And this sort of, what I mean to say is we were learning about it at school at the same time it was being rolled out in society. But what I see now is things are changing so quickly that things like schools and what parents know, what teachers know, it's not catching up. So AI, for example, I remember ChatGPT about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, it just sort of came out of nowhere in a way. It just sort of appeared and everyone was talking about it. And even now, schools are not teaching anything to do with generative AI. You know, I'm talking about in Albania, for example. By the time they get around to doing that, who knows where it's going to be? You know, they're not keeping up with the pace of how things are changing. This is a big problem.
Yeah, this is a huge problem. I think what we know is the world is changing, and it's an exponential change. So to predict what kind of environment we will be in 2, 3 years, or 5 years, or 10 years' time, we don't know what we will be facing. But what I find unique over my 26 years experience with UNICEF is a program called Upshift, and it was born in Kosovo. And it's a program called, 21st Century Human Skills Program. What the program does is problem solving, critical thinking, teamwork, communication skills, and it gets young people to adapt those skills and identify a problem that matters for them and work on solving those problems with some seed funding and mentoring. So what we want to imagine an education system, a society that empowers from early childhood to adolescence, children to become critical thinkers, problem solvers, for social impact in their own society, in their own community. And with that skills, whatever the change that is happening, you will find a way to survive and to fulfill your potential. And that is a big change. When I go to schools in Albania, I ask, how many of the children wants to become a teacher? I don't see. It's like 1 or 2 in a whole school of 500 students. But in the past, when the best students were becoming teachers, the society was respecting to those teachers.
Yes.
I also meet many parents across the country. I go to Has municipality, just next to Jakova. We were talking about that. I ask, how many parents go to school to meet their teachers? No one. I was talking to the mayor of the municipality, and he was saying, Murat, I have like 1,000 women with little kids. Their husbands left to UK. And I don't know how to work with these. In the first 2 years, there was some, stipend coming in, some money coming in, but then the connection with the family is also lost. And he was saying, please help as UNICEF, to work together to what kind of mental health support we can give, what kind of, support that we can give to those children who are being raised without their, fathers nearby, and what kind of commitment that we can take these women to be part of the society, to come to school, come to learning, lifelong learning kind of thing. So these challenges persist across the country. I mean, and this is a big surprise for me. And I make an analogy. I go to Korcha, and I see empty streets. People are migrating from the country. They are leaving the country. And the latest census data, we were doing secondary analysis of the data, it's like a plain load of people leaving the country. And these are educated people. These are, working age people. They can fulfill their potential in their country. So there is a huge challenge in, making education priority, making community to see schools as a hub for lifelong learning, not for, dropping their children and picking up during lunchtime, or extending the school hours and,
This needs to happen. And I've said it in maybe about 10 podcasts, and I'm hoping someone's listening to me. But so my daughter goes to state school. So I pick her up 2 days a week at 12:30, 3 days a week at 11:30. More often than not, that's before my shift at work has even started, So I'm getting up, I'm taking her to school, I'm picking her up. Then I've got to do homework with her for like 2-3 hours, in between working and doing all the other parenting and house things. And I think, okay, I manage because I have a flexible job. I can take her with me. I can work from home a lot of the time. But for so many mothers, and let's be honest, especially in Albania, the burden of responsibility falls on the mothers. If you're having to pick your child up at 11:30, how can you work?
No, this is a very visible problem in Albania, in many developing countries. It starts from early age, from nursery and kindergarten. When
But the kindergartens are until 5 o'clock.
Yes, but the kindergartens are they affordable and accessible for many women that can work. It starts from preschool age to primary school. Well, the government is working on it. I mean, 31% of the population is in Albania, in Tirana, and there is a discussion currently happening with the municipality on how to provide school meals for nationwide. So the school meal is a proxy indicator also, and it's part of the European Child Guarantee Framework that every school should provide healthy meal to children. And then that also connects to the after-school activities in the school. So we need to extend this time that children spend in the school, and not like extending the curricula, but creating after-school activities that
to have
children
breaks as well in
spend some
between learning.
non-digital times, have some sports, have some other activities, arts and crafts, and
Do the homework.
do the homework. So this is an important priority for
Yes.
UNICEF. We are working with government partners to extend the school hours, introduce the
Okay,
meal
good.
program, and also introduce after-school activities that
Yes.
makes children to improve their critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, and also more have a childhood
Yes.
that is not homework driven, that is not curricula driven, but a childhood like you and I had in
Yes.
when we were younger.
My daughter, look, I'm very happy with her teacher. I'm very happy with her school. They're wonderful. It's very good. But my problem is she sits for 4, sometimes 5 hours in the class. She has a 10-minute break to eat a sandwich. And then she comes home and has to do another 2-3 hours of homework. And I remember, at school in the UK, you have like a 20-minute break in the morning, an hour for lunch, 20 minutes in the afternoon. There were sports activities during this time that you could take part in and after school. And by having those breaks, you reset yourself and then you can concentrate again, And it just...
That's very important to create time that is not dictated by homeworks and others. That's time that they can learn to listen music, they can learn to play, they can learn to read a book. I mean, not to touch to digital telephones and other things, but non-digital.
We'll get to that in a minute. The use of phones in school. The government currently is not spending enough money on education, well below the average of 4.6. That's the EU average. I think it's around 2.7, 3.1% of the GDP. Yeah. Have you had any tough conversations with the government? Why is it so low? Why are you not investing more?
I mean, the first thing is to recognize that it is a problem.
Yeah.
And I think I'm seeing it, the recent PISA results show, and everyone is aware that the education quality needs to be improved.
Yes.
The school safety and children's safety needs to be improved. So there is an immense recognition of, improvement needs. And improvement can be done when you prioritize and spend money also. And also it's important to see what neighboring countries are doing in their investment to the education. So I would love to see Albania going beyond European average of 5% of GDP spent to education. But this is something that we need to collectively work, and we need to get to a stage. Even, my dream is 10% of GDP spent on education.
Yes.
You want children to stay in the country. You want them to fulfill their potential. It's great to see 12 million people visiting the country as tourists, and they can come. The diaspora can come back and work in the country. But the first thing everyone is asking, what is the schooling system available for their kids?
I think it's better than it was. I would not have sent my daughter to a state school 5 years ago, for example. It wouldn't have crossed my mind. Now I think it's better. Of course, there's a lot of work still to be done. There is in the UK as well. They say here, but the class sizes are so big. And I'm like, the size of my daughter's class is the same as mine was in primary school in the UK as well.
It's beautiful to interact with different strata of the community in a public school. I mean, your child is connecting with, everyone in the neighborhood. So
this was a reason.
And also not commuting with bus, 2 hours to go and 2 hours to come.
This was one of the things I liked. I wanted her to get to know people in the area and to be around normal kids, not just, the private schools are extremely expensive here anyway, beyond what I can. But I wanted that normal sort of, and my thinking was, okay, whatever money I might have spent on private school, I can afford to keep, to save, to go on trips together, to spend on her activities, piano lessons and rock climbing and all the things she does, because for me, these things are just as important as maths.
One of the things that we want to have and we are promoting is how do you get parents to stay connected with the school? And the parent-teacher associations are very important.
Yes.
So, making it lively, visiting the school, being part of the solution. I see my colleagues even visiting their own kids' school and then telling what UNICEF does, bringing their skills and being part of the journey and learning journey. And I think this is the shift that the learning system needs to go, that it's a lifelong learning. It's not only for the kids, but it's also for the parents. Parents can learn digital schools through schools. How do you introduce different filters for your home, for your child's telephone, for your own, protection of the family. So this is something lifelong learning we need to promote, we need to invest, and the better parenting programs that I was mentioning.
Yeah, these are really important. I went to my daughter's school before Christmas to read a book about bullying. And the teachers were like, oh, this is great. They said, a lot of the problem comes from the parents because the way the parents don't understand what bullying is, or the way the parents might speak about someone, the kids pick up on it, and then they don't want to deal with their kid being problematic or accept that maybe their kid has been nasty, or they'll teach them if someone's mean to you, you hit them, And I think, these sort of parenting programs, I'd love to go on one because no one's a perfect parent.
I think many parents are thinking it's like you're parking your car in a garage, 1 hour, €1, 10 hours, it's €10, 20 days, it's €200 per month kind of thing. The most important thing is you need to be part of your child's growth, and you need to be partnering with your child and the teacher.
Yes.
And you need to encourage your neighbors to visit that school and be part of the development system. So it's not the responsibility of the government alone. It's not the responsibility of the private sector to provide that. It's the whole responsibility of the society, of your school.
Why I get a bit annoyed sometimes when we see these incidents that have happened in schools recently, where there've been very problematic, sad incidents that happen, and everyone's very quick to just blame the government. And I'm like, okay, whatever, but there is some responsibility on society and parents as well. You are responsible for, partly at least, for the behaviour of your child, how you bring them up. You have a part to play in this. And I want to come on to this topic. You were involved in a study recently, and we were in an event together about it. And it surveyed over 850 people across 10 cities. And the results were that 1 in 5 young Albanians has faced online harassment. And most of them, they don't tell anyone about it. They don't tell their parents, they don't tell teachers, they don't tell friends. So they're being harassed and bullied online. And this even includes like threats against life, violence, sexual harassment, kids. And we're talking about kids, and they don't tell anybody about it. When you got the results of this study, what was your first thought? Were you surprised? Was it in line with what you expected?
It's in line with what we see across the world. I mean, and my plea to everyone is no child is safe. Every child is at risk today with the digital connectivity that is out there. So we shouldn't say only 1 in 5 that is experiencing it. If we can expand the reporting systems, if we can expand and talk about the issue, you will see it is immense. That bullying in different forms is happening in every school, in every community across the world and in Albania. That study also highlights about 80% of the children who are bullied are not talking to their teachers. They're not talking to their parents. They don't feel safe. They talk to their friends if they are open, and it's a way of kickstarter of speaking about the issue so that you may get some support. But the biggest problem is those children are stuck in their own small universe, and it goes into next stage of mental trauma that it stays with them throughout their lives. Before the New Year, one of the last activities we did, or my last field visit, was with Alban Skenderai, who is our national ambassador for UNICEF and for children. We went to Kavaya Institute, where there are children who are passing their criminal proceedings there. And when you talk to these young people, it's a symptom of failure of the society. A child is not responsible. A child is manipulated. You can see when you talk and hear individual stories, some were manipulated by their grandparents to do criminal activity. Some were in a place that their parents were not there with them to be protected. It's a failure of the teachers, it's a failure of neighbors, it's a failure of the family. So what I see, this study, and I'm happy to see private sector entering into also understanding, because they want a healthy community to sell their products also. And they want to improve their corporate social responsibility to engage with the society. So you don't expect everything to be done by the government, because everyone has a responsibility, including the private sector. So 80% of the young people who are experiencing it, not having a trusted person to speak is a big problem.
That's terrible. Is that something unique to Albania, or is this something we see everywhere?
I think, there was an analogy I was making with a colleague who we were talking. In the past, when you have your child playing in the garden, from the kitchen you look and then see who they are playing with. You know it is the neighbors, you know it is the neighbors' children, and you have an understanding of the ecosystem your child is. But in today's digital world, your child is playing with children from around the world. So you don't know who they are talking, you don't know who they are playing these online games with. So that blocks them to not to speak. And also another danger is the not two-way communication. You know, you open your telephone, you open the child, scrolling the screen and then seeing these, 3 seconds, 20 seconds information flowing into your brain, but you are not interacting and you are not talking to anyone. So this is also a kind of a side effect of, absorbing so much information coming to your face, coming to your ears, coming to your eyes, but you're not talking like the relationships that we used to have. This morning I went to a coffee shop at 6:30, first thing I do in the morning. Then I can talk to people. I can say, hey, Milman Jezi, I am here, CME. That interaction is not there with the kids anymore.
No.
So their interaction is open this and see the information coming in. I think there is huge analogy with that you are experiencing something and you cannot talk to anyone. The school system is trying to improve with, changing the way the teachers engage with students, not like the past that, the teacher knows everything, but as a facilitator. It's a transformation that needs to happen. The second one is school psychologues are getting placed in different parts of the country so that it needs to be more, but there is a person that can, map out and then see what is happening. And school safety officers also getting placed, but this is something more. It's about parents also talking to their children.
Let's talk about screens. So my daughter's screen-free. She's 6.5, completely screen-free. Okay, maybe there's a cute dog video and I'll show her, but she does not have any access to herself to any phone. TV is limited, very limited as well. But when my mum first moved to Albania and she would start looking after my daughter, I thought I'd communicated no screens, but apparently not. And I'd pick my daughter up from my mum's house and I noticed the first few times that my daughter was not making eye contact with me properly. And she was very aggressive, she was more aggressive than usual, short-tempered, unfocused, in a bad mood. And I was like, this is weird. And I said to my mum, is everything okay? Are you two fighting? Are you struggling? What's happening? She was like, no, we play together. We do this, we do that. And then when I make dinner, I give her the phone. And I was like, you give her, what's she looking at? YouTube. I put on the little videos. Imagine, so you have a screen-free child and imagine that a parent can tell a difference in their behavior. Just from them watching 30 minutes. Now, imagine you've brought up your kid for 6.5 years, watching 2-3 hours a day. Imagine what that's done to their brain and their behavior. It terrifies me. Yes.
Of course, it's an opportunity for the system to engage. What we believe and we are promoting is there's a program of UNICEF called EU for Social Care, which is partnering in 14 municipalities to introduce child protection and social services. And also there's another program called Home Visiting Program, the nurses visiting homes. So what we try to do is 2 visits during pregnancy, 3 visits during the first year of a child, 3 visits in the second year of the child. Because the first 1,000 days of the child's growth is the immense connections in the brain neurons happening. And that is the most important side to bring parenting programs to households. I believe this program needs to be scaled up nationwide to reach to parents, fathers and mothers, grandparents who are in the home. So you don't get your child to give as a pacifier the tablet and then they watch the thing. So this program helps the parents to track and monitor the well-being of the child in this early 1,000 days. It's very important to, coming back to the topic of better parenting programs in early years, better parenting programs during adolescent program is something that needs to go nationwide.
I wanted to ask as well, we know that the majority of this online bullying and harassment takes place on social media and these games, Roblox and things like that, but mainly social media. You know, Albania banned TikTok over bullying online. At the EU level now, I mean, Ursula von der Leyen has said, you know, she wants to limit social media across the bloc. She doesn't have the power to do that, but each country should come up with their own sort of guidelines. It's a discussion that's ongoing. Do you think social media should be banned for, say, under 15s?
I think banning anything doesn't work. I mean, this is really important to help the systems to have necessary awareness raising, necessary security protocols and protection protocols, so that you can press a button and raise an issue when there is inappropriate sites that is appearing in different platforms. I believe, and again, it's about all parenting programs and support. You need to accompany also the parents.
Yes.
To be aware. So you cannot say I'm blocking children have access to the internet.
Yes.
And then parents are also spending the same hours of watching and, you know, the information is going. Because for me, the parents are also like children when it comes to the digital age. They don't know what filters are existing, how they can protect themselves or their children. So our plea is, you know, making the issue heard and spoken at different platforms and using community centers like the multifunctional centers across the country, the schools across the country, and also the social workers across the country to talk about it, to listen to parents, to talk to them, and to strengthen the protection measures. One of the things that I love about UNICEF in Albania was in 2019, you know, when there was a free Wi-Fi hotspot in Skanderbeg Square. UNICEF Albania was one of the first countries across the world to work with the municipality to introduce a filter so that this public Wi-Fi has filters that you don't go inappropriate sites. And this was not costing anything, but it was a filter that other countries adopted from Albania. Now I see the municipalities are expanding free Wi-Fi coverage. The schools are having smart labs. So one of our initiatives with the Education Ministry is a global initiative to map the digital connectivity on a real-time platform and a global map. You can see the school connectivity. You can filter what kind of sites the school will be visiting. So it's important to bring in tools to protect children. It's important not to limit their access to information, but it is important to engage with the parents, with the society, and have a system that has checks and balances.
And, okay, last question for parents who are watching going, oh, you know, I want to get them off their phones and devices, or how can they go about it? What help can UNICEF provide? And also, perhaps, because you've mentioned it a couple of times, these parenting courses, if people are interested in getting help or assistance or education on things to do with improving their child's life, how can they interact with UNICEF?
UNICEF, we have a social media account. They can reach to us. We are across the country working with the municipalities. They can reach to social workers in the municipalities and municipal officers. So we can expand these programs across the country. What we want is, you know, press the button, reach to UNICEF, and then let's co-create an ecosystem on promoting better parenting programs. I'm so proud to see Albania, the policies and regulations are matching the EU standards. But the policies, when it's not implemented, it becomes a problem. So I think with the movement of the communities, children, young people, we can make these parenting programs to go to scale.
Yeah, these are really interesting. I'd quite like to do one myself as well, you know, because you're never too old to learn.
It was great to have you the other day at UNICEF House. You know, you had a book, you were reading, you know, how gender stereotypes and everything. So these are things that we need to do in schools, in communities. And one thing that I would love to see expanding in Albania is the multifunctional centers. You know, these are beautiful buildings across the country. In municipalities are funding. But the activities, the software, the hardware is there. The building is there. It's like the school. But in the afternoon, nothing is happening in the school. Nothing is happening in the multifunctional center. So how do we shift the society to spend more time? One example comes to me is like in Pogradec. I mean, there is a retired teacher, and this guy is an artist also. He comes 3 times a week to teach painting for kids. He doesn't do it for money.
Yeah.
He just has the space. And UNICEF supported with the EU for Social Care Program, this municipality. That multifunctional center is a hub for young people to go, the parents to go. And the parents are learning also how to paint.
Yes.
The kids are having fun and spending non-digital time. And the teacher who is a retiree is finding a niche for, practicing the
Yes.
skill that he has.
It was something I wrote this manifesto a while ago about what I would do if I was the Prime Minister in terms of education. And one of the things was, to have these after-school clubs and to bring student teachers, and they do their practical work, they learn, they volunteer, local volunteers from the community, but volunteering there isn't quite the culture of volunteering here yet, but it can change.
There's a new law. We supported the youth ministry now. It's not anymore ministry, but the new law on volunteerism and youth, I'm really impressed. I mean, recently we had the 80 volunteers who are part of our program. They were spending like 2 to 3 hours every afternoon in visiting different social work. So one of the students were sharing in Durres, the elderly home, or visit to elderly home. I mean, it's amazing. It's a connection of generation. It's a connection of culture and reading a book for the elderly, taking them for a walk.
So nice.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I think when young people ask me, what is your best career advice? What I tell them, you will learn how to become a doctor or engineer, the books that you read and everything. But the biggest thing is you need to spend time with the society.
Yes.
You need to volunteer. That makes you different than an engineer who is having an A grade. You can have a B grade, but the social side that you spend in the community,
Yes.
the social impact projects that you implement, makes a difference for you to shine in the career and in your job
Yes.
search also.
You have to give a bit of all the benefit and privilege and knowledge you have, give a bit back.
Yeah.
I try and give around at least 10% of my time each month to doing something, pro bono in some way, somewhere, because you have to give it back.
Your kids also see, and then they will learn how to give back to the society. And this is something we want to promote also with the private sector here.
Yes.
I mean, they're growing up. The system is not yet there in terms of the sponsorship law and others. It is really important, the foundations and others, to give back to the society, to give back to the schools they study, to give back to the society they work. And also it motivates the employees of the private sector. So it's not anymore, sitting in the bank and counting the cash only, but also going back to your kids' school, going back
Yes.
to your community, and then giving back them your volunteer time. I think 10% is a beautiful,
Yes.
standard to set and donate your time to give back to your society.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly.
That's how
And these are the people that you spend the time in a coffee shop, in a street, in a traffic jam. I mean, this is, you don't want people to horn, you don't want people to hit each other, you want people to respect. That culture can happen when you start giving back to your society.
Murat, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Alice, for
Thanks.
taking this. Thank you.
Eva, welcome to Inside Albania. We know each other from the real world, but it's a pleasure to have you here professionally today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I want to talk about something which I feel very, very strongly about, and I was delighted to hear that you feel very strongly about this as well. But first, I want to go back a little bit. You've been working with children for years. You're an early years educator as well. How did that start? Where did you find this passion for wanting to work with children?
So I've been a teacher for 17 plus years now. So I started when I was 19. And it started by coincidence. I was a student at that time and I was offered a job to work with kids, which I accepted. And I think that is the start of, that's the best decision at the start of a remarkable professional journey that I have had these years.
Where do you find the patience? Because when my daughter was in kindergarten, we brought their class to Euronews and there was like 3 teachers, 35 5-year-olds. And I don't know how you stay calm, how you don't lose your mind.
Well, let me tell you, there are 2 things that walk along. So first of all, there is this wish to do something for them and the will. And then there is love. Unless there is love, there is nothing that can be done. So basically, they walk along with each other. And then, so we have a mission. We have decided that this is going to be our job. we are educators. And these little children rely on us on many things, like when it comes to education, we take care of them for long hours. So basically, we are taking care of them, we are educating them. And unless we have made this decision with ourselves, like that's a promise, that's an agreement that we make with ourselves from the very beginning, otherwise it doesn't work. But also, I think it comes internally. So I was raised in a family with a lot of love, and we were 3 sisters. We always loved and took care of each other. So I think it is something that I have always grown up with, and it comes naturally.
I think you're missing a 4th thing, though, which is extremely high levels of patience.
Well, I'm quite patient, but this is something that is also earned during work. So there is not much you can do without patience with kids. So you also learn it with the time.
You posted something on Instagram recently which really made me laugh, and it was, I think you'd been on a field trip with some of your students, and it was like zoosh, 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 like 100 times, and I was like, yes, that's how I feel with mommy, 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 700 times a day.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it what parents experience all the time that they spend with their kids? So this is what we also have, but aren't you patient as well? So we learn a lot from parents as well. This is something that we bring into the environment that we work with the kids. So.
Now we were together in Vlora at a marathon before Christmas, not a marathon, a 10K race, and you had a shirt. And you were telling me, you know, I'm running for this new initiative that I have about having a screen-free childhood. Can you tell me more about this, please?
Thank you for bringing that. It is something that I feel really strongly about recently. So as an educator, the challenges that we have been facing over the years have changed quite a lot. And what we are facing with recently is a very short attention span, first of all. That's quite concerning. But also when it comes to results and the time that it takes for children to give results is very different, and it takes a longer time. So basically, I thought, if I can't do something to change this reality, I can at least do something to bring it in front of the eyes of parents, of people, so of whoever is interested and feels the same. The way it started is actually very funny, because a friend of mine asked me, do you have a cause? Like, why do you run? And I thought to myself, like, the only cause that I have at the moment is to probably waste my money sometimes. So then I just thought, so what is something that is very important to me? So it's always children. And I live at work most of my time, so I see what's really concerning. And the way I wanted to shape it is by creating a type of campaign and something that also resonates with what I do, with what I want. That is a child-free, screen-free. A screen-free.
Is that a Freudian slip? Child-free. I'm tired.
A screen-free childhood. So I've been running for a couple of years, and I will continue running. All my running friends know.
Let's give a shout out to our running group. How we actually know each other. Tirana Running Club. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, they're very cool people.
Yeah.
So I've been running for quite a long time, but all my running friends know that I haven't made any significant progress. So I thought I can also give this, let's say, a different shape and a different value. So I will always continue running, but from now on, I will continue running for...
to raise awareness for this.
To raise awareness, and also we will also start raising funds for this. And the way these funds are going to be used is that we want to help children in need engage in more outdoor activities.
Great, great. Now, it's funny, you know, I had a screen-free childhood because that's how old I am, you know. We didn't have tablets or mobile phones back in those days, you know. But when you say screen-free childhood now, it's like something really shocking and surprising. Like when I say my daughter doesn't have access to screens, people are like, oh my God, really? You know, it's crazy idea for some people, but this should be the norm, really, you know.
This should be the norm. And the question that I have is, when did we shift into this necessity of having screens present all the time with children? So what I can somehow understand, let's say, the necessity for a very short time, but when did screens replace real interaction, even with parents?
The pandemic.
The pandemic, but also the pandemic was for a short time. So I think we all had the time to reflect on what is important and what is not. And I just think we let it slip. So we didn't pay enough attention to how damaging it was.
Yeah.
Why did the childhood with screens need to become a norm?
Yes.
It shouldn't become a norm.
I think we got into the habit during the pandemic. Like I found, so as I said, my daughter's screen free, but during the pandemic, I mean, she was young, but there were times where I had to work and I had meetings and I was at home and there was no, and I'd put on like a Disney film or something and she'd sit and watch it, you know, and because that was a necessity during that short time. Now it's not. But I think a lot of people during that time, their kids got used to that, you know, or having the phone because you couldn't go out, you couldn't do anything. And then, yeah, from there, it's become laziness, it's become the norm, it's become a habit.
Yeah, but that's a decision. So I can understand and respect it like for a short time, but doing it, keeping it as part of a routine, I think not everyone is aware enough of the damages that we are causing to the children.
As an educator of young children under 6, I think mainly you're teaching, what are the main tangible damages that you see in children today caused by screens in Albania?
The most important and tangible damage is the very short attention span. So children are looking for that dopamine rush and for that instant pleasure. They just want things quite quickly and instantly. So they're not patient enough. Let's not forget speech delay problems. That's a serious issue as well. And it's also probably cultural mentality and problem. Parents often think that it's fine, they are going to speak eventually, but this is not the case. I think we are neglecting the consequences of using mobile phones. So
what about like social skills?
Social interaction as well. So the way children play with each other is not that peaceful. So instead of trying to establish that communication, they just grab toys or they tend to become kind of violent, and that is mostly because of what they watch. I mean, quick videos.
Yes. And this is something you've noticed more in recent years rather than, you know, previously when phones were not so ingrained in our lives.
Yeah, that's absolutely more in the recent years, especially in the
It's crazy
recent
that
5 years.
giving your kid a phone, you know, can make them more aggressive. Their attention span less, can impact their learning, their speech. What about Albanian language? Do you see any problems with this?
Well, studies show, but also we see it every day in reality, that children lack vocabulary. So it is shown that children do not possess enough vocabulary to express themselves or to name things around them. Here I have to mention the fact that many parents claim that they let their children use mobiles because they are also educational. But I don't know any educational system which has failed to teach a child what is an orange, an apple, ever. So they don't actually need to learn it through their screens. And let's not forget that learning through screens is passive learning.
Yes.
So they are not interacting or engaging with anyone. Also, let's bring here the case of parents claiming that their children are learning very good English through their mobile phones.
It's not very good English, I can tell you that. I hear it.
First of all, I absolutely agree. And secondly, because our native language is Albanian, I do not actually see it as a necessity to actually
You learn it in school.
learn English first and then Albanian, because they are neglecting the necessity and the importance of actually acquiring Albanian language first and then bringing English second. They are eventually going to learn it. There are different educational programs. It is 10 times better to take your child to an English learning school or course where they are going to interact with other children rather than just putting them in front of a screen of a mobile phone or a tablet.
As a native English speaker, I hear the English that these kids speak in this terrible accent, and it's not proper English. You know, it's not a proper. They might be able to communicate in a street slang sort of English, but it's not a kind of English that you would use in a professional setting.
Because they're actually absorbing whatever they are presented with without selecting and without being told what is right and what is wrong and what they should stop learning or they shouldn't even be presented with in the first place.
Why are Albanian parents doing this? Is it laziness? Is it ignorance? Is it stress? Is it they don't have enough hours in the day? Like, can we blame the parents? Do they just not know?
I also see it as keeping up with the Joneses. So they see others doing it and they also do it. Also by thinking that nothing's going to happen. Because if I see your child doing it and I see that your child is fine, I can also let my child because nothing's going to happen to my child. But also it's like a pacifier. So it's like they are going to have their child be quiet for a while. But I think that probably unconsciously they are just forgetting that they are missing some precious time with their child. They are probably failing to know their child deeply. And that by that it means also giving some like real contribution into doing things with them, like crafts, telling stories, speaking about whatever it is. And I mean, especially in the very early ages, from 0 to 6. I think it's a cultural mindset as well that some parents still think that children don't understand much because they are very young kids, which is so wrong in my opinion. And it is also backed up by research that actually children establish their character and they also establish their cognitive skills, 80% of them till the age of 6.
I think we've also forgotten what children are supposed to be like. Let me give you an example. I was in Korça in the summer and I was in a restaurant with some friends and my daughter. And it was, they had singers in the restaurant. It was like a traditional restaurant, quite a small restaurant. And there was our table, there was Dea, there was, I think, 2 other tables with 2 kids on one on the other, all about the same age. And the other 3 kids were with mobile phones. They did not move. I didn't see them blink. They didn't eat. They just sat there like this the whole night. Dea she got up, she danced, she went and stood in front of the music, and someone complained and said, can you get your daughter to sit down? She wasn't doing cartwheels through the restaurant. She was just standing and looking. And I was like, you've really, like, this is what she's not causing a problem. This is what she's supposed to be doing. She's curious. She's watching him play the guitar, you know, but you've got used to kids sitting there like zombies. And okay, I left the restaurant early in the end because she was tired and she was getting a bit cranky. It would have been so much easier just to give her a phone. But at what cost?
So this is my other concern. So we have forgotten what it looks like for a child to be a child. I know many parents who are worried about their child, about their house being clutter-free, being clean, everything in order. But what is actually the point? I mean, it's not the most beautiful thing to see the walls with, I don't know, paintings and scratches or your sofa and everything. But this is how your child is exploring the environment around it, and it needs to be free at some extent. And then also, that's why parents are around to set borders where it is important and when it is important to set borders. But we are really forgetting what it is supposed for children to be like and to behave like.
They're noisy, they're messy, they're energetic. And you have to tell them to sit down and be quiet 25 times. And yes, you might have to go home early because they're tired or they've had a tantrum. This is what kids have been like for generations.
Exactly. And it's totally fine if they are not going to be obedient, if they are not going to sit down, if they are not going to listen to us. I mean, that's the process of growing up. So we are not reinventing the wheel. We are not going to reinvent the wheel with the way we educate children, but we have to look back, especially our generation, which is the last generation to have a screen-free childhood. So we just have to look back and remember what gave value to our childhood and memories.
I know people are going to say 2 things to this. One, they're going to say, well, things have changed. Time has changed since you were kids. Kids need to know how to use phones. My daughter is screen-free. She knows how to use the phone. She knows how to unlock it. She knows how to call me. She knows how to call the police if there's an emergency. She knows what social media is and things like that. You know, you can educate them. And when she's learning, you know, in school with computers, she will know how to do it. It doesn't mean I'm giving her this for sort of 1 hour, 10 hours a day, you know. But the other thing is, and I've been criticised for this before, they said, oh, you're so judgmental. And it's easy for you to say, what about those parents who are struggling and, you know, they're at home, they've got 4 kids or they're working from home and, you know, they have to have it. It's a lifesaver being able to give them the phone. You're being judgmental, blah, blah, blah. What do you say to that?
I'll just decide to skip that type of judgments. I'm very strict when it comes to mobile phones. I know it's a decision. So if these parents are deciding to give their mobile phones to their children, I know that there are also really great parents who have decided not to do so, and they have my respect. And I say that as an educator. Let's not forget that a child is not an isolated species. So as parents, they have the responsibility to educate this child and to prepare them for what they are going to be part of, where they are going to belong, that is society, be that school, be that the workplace later on. So let's remind all these parents, and let's all of us remember that we are not raising a child only within the walls, the 4 walls of our house or our home, and we need to think and prepare them for life later on.
Yes.
And sometimes I just think we forget that. So we just think for the specific moment, particular moment that we are in. So we forget that this is not an individual raised in isolation, but we need to think more of the community, and we need to think more of where this child is going to belong to. So what they are going to do. Just remember that.
I also think it's okay for a child to be bored. If you take away the phone, they're going to have like withdrawal symptoms. It will take time, but a kid will be bored, but they're never actually bored. Like if you leave my daughter like with nothing to do, she'll find a cardboard box and turn it into a cat house, or she'll build like a den in the living room with a blanket and she'll disappear in there with a doll or something. They will find stuff to do.
I think boredom is the first step towards creativity. They will start doing something that neither they thought they could actually do, just because they need to be doing something.
Yes.
They will find it themselves. So let them do it. Let them find it. Let them explore it. And I'm not saying just let them free. Observe them. Like this is our job as parents, to observe them around. But let them explore the environment around them so that they can actually find what they enjoy doing. And I can assure you and every parent who is listening to us that they will find something that is much more interesting than scrolling on a mobile phone, which is the worst. And it is really sad that statistics show 75% of children 1 to 2 years old spend an excessive time on mobile phones. So I just hope and I wish that this is an alarm for parents to just think and reflect of the fact that how damaging it is to their children in the long term. So let's just not think of the short term, but think of in the long term.
When this generation of zombies is in their 20s and 30s and are running the country.
Yeah, that's actually really sad. But I think the traditional ways of, and I hope the traditional ways of educating and also raising a child must make a comeback. And by that, I mean just letting children
be kids, be free, be bored, explore, make noise, get dirty.
Yeah, and also when it comes to mobile use, this is something new, like in a way that parents did not know much of the consequences, and they are facing the real consequences now that it's been almost a decade. So they are going to reflect. I'm hopeful that they are going to reflect.
I believe that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, we'll look back at kids using phones like we now look back at them putting cocaine in Coca-Cola, for example, you know, with absolute horror. Like, oh my God, I can't believe we used to do this. So.
Yeah, and something else that I see is that different countries do have some government initiatives where they ban mobile use in schools during all the time, like all day. So this is also like a positive step towards it. So we are trying to reflect on the negative consequences. So.
Thank you for your powerful message and well done on your initiative. And I look forward to running again with you soon.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
That's all for this week. You can watch Inside Albania every Saturday on Euronews Albania, on our YouTube channel, Euronews Albania, or across all major podcasting platforms. Until next time, Mirë Pafshim.